Mark Davis, John, there's a lot of jostling right now about who picked who. Vic Tafer's been doing some reporting about it. Between Mike Mayock and John Gruden, who wanted Ruggs, who wanted Arnett, who wanted Furl. Vic Tafur kind of shot down. Pete Prisco wrote, "Oh, Mayock wanted Devin White and got overruled." And Tafur did a poop emoji GIF actually on that.
It was actually the
Leatherwood
dinosaur poop.
That's right.
With Goldbaum or Gold, what's his name?
Jeff Goldblum, who's just fantastic. But this has been a retroactive mess. It was a mess in and of itself. It's been a mess on top of that. Like as it's ended, the way it's ended, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised by that. And if it's not Jim Harbaugh, then I think the search could be a little bit of a mess too.
He fires a lot of people. I mean, they just one thing after another. They just have disaster after disaster, and it was fun making fun of him years ago. We don't get as much joy out of it anymore. Part of it is they just had the same coach and GM for a little while, but now they're both gone. And like you said, the people that we were talking about this before we even started the pod is that you have to go back to when he took over the team. His two advisors were Ron Wolf and John Madden. Well, one guy's dead, and the other guy's in his mid-80s now. And you just go, how would John Gruden and Jim Harbaugh hires are easy, right? They're not easy in terms of they cost a lot, but they're pretty easy, right? You just know the guy you want to hire. He's really famous. You're going to get a lot of credit for it. No one can really, especially Jim. To me, John, some people would be like, this kind of crazy hire, but to me, Jim would be a no-brainer. You would get universal credit for it. It would be huge for your, brand and your team, and it would just be a big deal. It'd be a big football deal, and John was too. If he just has to do a normal like Brian Daboll or Kellen Moore, I don't know. Really, what he would have, the only way he could do that, he'd have to hire a GM first, and the GM would make the hire. That's what that happened.
But who's conducting that interview?
I guess Mark. Yeah, I mean,
do NFL teams ever hire search firms? I mean, colleges do it all the time.
Well, Mark always had these guys that he kind of leaned on. They were kind of legends that clearly helped.
I think what would end up happening is the league will effectively operate as a search firm, right? And so
they did that with Shad Khan. They basically gave him Balky. It's like he wouldn't be alone in that. I would say the difference is Mark has been around the NFL for 40 years now, or longer than that, however, 60 his whole life.
Yeah, but in terms of really decision making.
But he's now been running a team for a decade, right? And he's been around league meetings, and he should be knowing a lot of fucking people now. Totally. He has no excuse now. I give him some excuses. His dad didn't let him around in 11, a lot going on. Now it's like, you've been to all these. He goes to every game. He meets all these people. People like him. Like, people are coming up to talk to him. This to me now is on Mark, right?
No, it's not about excuses. It's what I'm saying is that what evidence is there that he would know how to do? He would do this.
I think the scary thing is
I'll say this: veteran owners have screw up hires left and right every day. So
John Mara's missed every year for
I mean, it's really not unique to Mark, but it's just what would they do? I mean, Joe Judge is a hire that you end up with when I don't know, you get duped. I don't know what that is. You take a big swing, but if it's not Jim, I'm.
If it's not Jim, guy, I have absolutely no clue who is going to end up as the GM or the head coach. Do you agree with that? Like, you could tell me any scenario, and I could. Billy Wingfoot from the Panthers is the GM, and he hires the special teams coordinator. Like, anything is believable. Rich stays.
If
it's all Jim, on the table.
If it's not Jim, could he go back to Could he go back to TV?
Who?
Could he hire Lewis after Mayock?
Yeah, he could hire Lewis.
Well,
Lewis has been interviewing the last couple of years.
I think Lewis would be then at the top of the list.
I think Lewis wants the job for sure.
Well,
he takes a lot of pride in the Raiders.
Yeah.
But I think you hire Lewis. Like, Lewis worked in the league for a decade.
Lewis would know how to find a head coach.
Lewis would have a short list
I'm
Lewis
just
has a
saying,
short
if we're
list.
making the list of people that I think Mark Davis would go to, if it's not Jim Harbaugh, then I think Louis Riddick's probably at the top of that list.
I mean, if I told you that he ends up with Louis Riddick and Doug Peterson, you would say that's pretty serviceable, right?
Yeah. It's a
Because let's
real
face
NFL.
it,
It's a Super Bowl winning head coach, John.
Yeah, your
It's Doug-
GM, if your coach is good, your GM doesn't have to be Ron Wolf in his prime. You know, obviously Lewis has never done it. Mayock would have been fine if his coaches were good. You saw this year; they were fine. They made the playoffs.
we do. I do. I think you're right. Like
John Lynch has missed some picks.
Everyone's made the Leatherwood pick. Everybody, even Ron Wolf.
He just did it 4 years in a row. He was missing on first rounders. That's his problem.
Yeah. But I mean, I do wonder if there was just not enough. You need a little yin and yang. Maybe him and John. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Breer wrote, and I think Tafer might have alluded this too. I remember being told by a guy on another team, like round 2, like I heard Mike Mayock is going to get fired. Remember in the draft? I think I told you. I heard Mike Mayock's going to get fired, and then we waited a couple of days. He didn't get fired. There were definitely rumblings that John Gruden was going to fire him. So where do you think Mike got these thoughts? Or I mean, Mark got these thoughts, right? I think this was implanted in him from John.
Who he still likes, right? He still wants John Gruden to be his coach.
100%.
Think about that.
Like John Gruden is suing the league, but he's really suing the 31 teams. He's not suing Mark. To me, Mark, I just think they both that night they had no choice. Mark Davis is not happy with the way this all played out, and he was never. One thing I think that's clear is Mayock has nothing to do with Mark Davis. Mayock is just there simply because of John Gruden, and then they found out like maybe this guy was a little over his skis, which still to me is weird because I always just it shows you though. We talked about this the other day on the feed that it just shows you it's a lot different. It's easy to like. I'd probably sound genius just getting up there if I really studied it, just talking overall players. And then when you're on the clock, you're like, well, I got 7 guys. I kind of like this Leatherwood guy a lot, but I mean, we sure? Yeah, take Leatherwood.
And I could understand you think to yourself,
Leatherwood was a starting right tackle at Alabama, and it started several years at Alabama.
And when you get your shot, you're like, this is my shot. I'm taking who I believe in, not who's not going to get me criticized, right? But a lot of those guys get you criticized, unfortunately. You don't get that many at-bats, right?
Isn't
like
it weird,
Stephen
though,
Vogt started his career 0 for 32 or something with the A's before in his big league career, 0 for 32 before he hit a home run. You don't get that. You don't get that many first-round at-bats.
If Mike was the guy pulling the trigger, though, there wasn't really a rhyme or reason, right? You'd go, well, Farrell was low ceiling, super high character team captain Clemson. Leatherwood was actually like people question like the weird cat, not your typical Alabama guy. Arnett had a ton of red flags. He was just all over the board. The guys in the middle rounds, all like Crosby, Renfro, they all feel kind of the same. Like he was just getting these tough, just kind of consistent blue collar guys. But at the top, it's like they didn't have an identity. Like, are we swinging for the fences, or are we just going pure character? It's like they didn't know.
Ken on the stream says, look at Gruden's bad drafts in Tampa once Dungy's all-pro defensive stud aged out. Very similar. Run back in the first, flame-out receiver, bad trenches QBs. Best pick was Talib, and he was traded before the second contract.
I did like Cadillac Williams in Auburn, I remember. I thought he was sweet.
What was his real name?
Mercedes or something? I don't know. Do you remember the two of those guys, Ronnie Brown and Cadillac?
Yeah. Oh, Carnell. That's not what I would have guessed.
It was just, I mean, at the time, I think most people viewed Cadillac Williams like a top 10 pick. Now, he ended up not being great, but it's also, there's not an easier job to do than talk about drafts a year, 2 years, 3 years after.
It's one of the most fun things to do.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well, and to talk about it before the draft, too.
But you don't have any information beside what you think before. After, it's like, what idiot took this guy pick 17? Oh, my God. This guy can't play dead in the Western. How'd they miss on this guy in the 3rd round? Shit, A.J. Brown. Clearly, every team, like, for example, A.J. Brown, were like, there were some red flags, or the guy wouldn't have lasted to the end of the 2nd round.
Right.
DK Metcalf was strictly known for being half naked with Pete Carroll in that video that went viral. People are like, yeah, he can't really play, though. And then by, like, halfway through his rookie year, they're like, how the hell did this guy last? Just it happens every single year. And in football more than the other sports, just because the 7th round, and you're just bound to get guys in the 4th, 5th round that are going to become Kittles and Shermans and Brady's. It's inevitable.
I hope DK can bounce back from his 75 reception, 12 touchdown down year, John.
Did I think get 3 touchdowns week 17, but still had 9 through 16. So
yeah, I mean
people are acting like he was a scrub.
Seahawks offseason. Has Pete met with the owner yet? Have we not heard what happened? That was
yeah. I think I think they're good. The whole band's getting back together. You
just
see
nothing, a whole lot of nothing.
Kenny Norton got fired. You see that?
Well, okay.
Ed Donatel, remember Harbaugh's old coach that was Fangio? I saw that Pete Carroll fired Ken Norton yesterday, requested the Denver Broncos, who fired Fangio. I love when the head coach is fired, but all the assistants are under contract. So it's like, what do I come into the office and do every day? I get requested to go interview with Seattle. Like, I have to ask for a request. My boss just got fired. The semantics of the league are kind of ridiculous in some of these situations, aren't they?
Yes. Well, I mean, the fact that DeMeco Ryans is interviewing on Wednesday with the Vikings is pretty wild.
It's nuts. Can he interview Sunday?
How about did we talk about the Mayock story? That they thought other people in the building saw him leaving the building and just thought he was leaving for the day, didn't know he was fired. They're just doing their tasks, you know.
I immediately I saw Breer tweets it, so I'm like, I got to check out the 75 comments here. A lot of people are like, don't you guys know the rules of human resources? You're not allowed to talk to people when you get removed from a building. I'm like, well, I can relate. That is true, right? You're not allowed to be like, hey, guys, I've been relieved of my duties. Now, if they see you with the HR lady, maybe they would know something was going on. But if his office is in a place where they didn't see him get fired, if I was going to defend the Raiders, is it that inconceivable that situation takes place? Like, you have to leave the building? Remember Chip, once upon a time, got walked out of the building?
Yeah, they don't want you grabbing your laptop or whatever. It's still weird.
There are just like rules,
protocols. I know
for whatever,
but it's still kind of weird.
Should Mark Davis send out an email immediately, like, "Hey guys, your Mike Mayock has been fired. I'll update you more in the next couple days."
Before he interviews GMs,
is that the right thing to do? Well, they didn't interview GMs; they just sent out the faxes.
Feelers, sorry, right? Feelers. Requests.